Hello friends, as both a gamer and an intellectual, I play the Nancy Drew games and I read the Nancy Drew books. Now where I'm going with this is that it's common knowledge that all Nancy Drew games are at least partially inspired by Nancy Drew books. And there are over 600 Nancy Drew books out there, so Her Interactive still has a lot of content to mine in future years. However, I have taken on the great and unpaid task of narrowing down some options for the Her Interactive team of some Nancy Drew titles which I think would make great games, based only on their synopses. You're welcome, Her Interactive. You never know, one of these could be game 35. And just to clear the air, yes, I have read all 56 original Nancy Drew books. No, I don't remember the plots of any of them. Life is hard when you're cursed with a hamster brain, okay? But since the current Her Interactive strategy is to just use crumbs from books rather than to, beat by beat replicate the plot, I think it's fine. The first book I'd like to recommend is The Haunted Showboat. And you got it good. Right from the title, you've got a hit on your hands. But I'll read you the synopses anyway, just in case you need some convincing. Nancy, Bess, and George visit New Orleans for Mardi Gras. While on vacation for the festivities, the three friends become involved with pirates, ghosts, and investigating an old showboat rumored to be haunted that must be restored in time for the gala celebrations. Pirates, ghosts, and investigating an old showboat. Three things every girl wants. And again, if you somehow, for some reason, need further convincing, I'll also say we don't see enough of New Orleans in Crystal Skull, I think. I think New Orleans is a very interesting, rich location, and we barely get to see any of it in Legend of the Crystal Skull, which I think is unfair, and I would like to see more, please. Also, with all the mentions of a historic old showboat, we've got perfect, fertile ground for a historical subplot like the kind Her Interactive just excel at, think the tragic love story in Secret of Shadow Ranch. We got Lizzie Applegate in Message in a Haunted Mansion, etc., etc. In fact, speaking of Message in a Haunted Mansion, I think it could be like Message in a Haunted Mansion, like it's a similar kind of thing they're going for, with like a restoration of a haunted location, except it would somehow be even better than Message in a Haunted Mansion. And I don't say that lightly, because Message in a Haunted Mansion is in my top 3 Nancy Drew games, but it would be better because it's set on a boat. Furthermore, there's like a very clear task set out, which I think would help provide some structure and maybe some puzzles, with their goal being to restore this old showboat. And with that, Your Honor, I rest my case. Next, I would like to present for your consideration In Search of the Black Rose. A very evocative title, a very non-Nancy Drew feeling title, to be quite honest. But doesn't it just intrigue you? Doesn't it just pull you in? The game wouldn't necessarily need to be called In Search of the Black Rose, but it could be like The Mystery of the Black Rose, which is actually worse, so I don't know why I just said that. Okay, let me read the synopsis before I embarrass myself even further with my dumb ideas. A dinner party at England's Oxford University is interrupted by an arrow shot that sends Nancy on a strange journey through the school's medieval corridors. She must find out the meaning of a clue left behind, a black rose. The search for answers moves Nancy to explore the life and death of Dame Gwyneth Davies, the famous mystery writer and playwright. And as Nancy draws back a veil of family secrets, she uncovers a real-life drama that could end in tragedy. Oh my god, it's so juicy. And another great opportunity for historical subplot. And medieval history is an era that has kind of been untapped in the Nancy Drew games, which is a bit surprising to me because, again, it's a super rich, deep kind of basis for a mystery. Like, I'm thinking of Gabriel Knight 3, Blood of the Sacred, Blood of the Damned, the Broken Sword series. both those might not actually be set in the medieval period, but they're inspired by old times. By very old times. Anyway, just to TLDR that one, I think medieval history is a very interesting subject. I think you can get a lot of great puzzles out of that. You could get lots of good education in there, because some people clearly need it. I love the drama invoked in the synopses by Nancy getting an arrow shot at her, and like imagine getting doing a second chance where you have to dodge out of the way of an arrow. That would be so dramatic, so fun. And who doesn't love a university setting? It's giving dark academia in a very fun way. Also, I just love the idea of Nancy drawing back the veil of family secrets. I personally just can't get enough of exposing a family's darkest, most well-kept secrets. Like, they bury them 9 feet deep. Nancy's in there digging up those secrets, exposing them for all the world to see. I love that. Think Blackmore Manor. What a fascinating family history there. Thornton Hall, so much going on within that family, so much interpersonal drama, and so many intricacies in the relationships between them all. Shadow at the Water's Edge is another amazing one. I love discovering all the family secrets and the different ways they feel about each other in that game. It's so good, so I would like more. Another book which I think could make a interesting Nancy Drew game is The Clue of the Dancing Puppet. Doesn't that just sound great? Do I even need to read the synopses? Well, I will anyway. When the eerie performances of a life-size puppet, a life-size puppet, not just a little Pinocchio, a life-size puppet. I guess that's a bad comparison because Pinocchio is literally shaped like a normal human boy. Not like a finger puppet, a life-size puppet. Anyway, when the life-size puppet begins to haunt the old Van Pelt estate, where an amateur acting group, the Footlighters, have their theater, Nancy Drew is called upon to unravel the baffling mystery. From the moment the detective and her friends Bess and George arrive at the mansion, the dancing puppet puzzle is further complicated by Tammy Whitlock, the Footlighters' temperamental leading lady, and Emmett Calhoun, a Shakespearean actor. Nancy's search of the mansion's dark, musty attic for clues to the weird mystery starts a frightening chain reaction. A phone call from a stranger with a witch-like cackling voice warns her to get out! Is that a witch-like cackling voice? Did I do a good job there? Next, an encounter with 2 jewel thief suspects adds another perplexing angle to the puzzle. When Nancy finally sees the life-size puppet flitting across the moonlit lawn and chases it, she learns that someone with a sinister motive is determined to keep her solving the case. Solving the case! Is it one of the Footlighters? Or is it an outsider? I gotta be honest, I just chose this one because I think the idea of a puppet doing a little dance is funny. I think it would be really funny. But I mean, additionally, you've got an acting troupe that is the perfect opportunity for a cast of incredible, colorful, larger-than-life, eccentric characters. We all know the theater kids. We all know what they're like. A few of us might even have been theater kids. And I don't know about you, but my favorite kind of Nancy Drew character are the larger-than-life characters. I love just a little weirdo in my Nancy Drew games, you know what I mean? Professor Hotchkiss. Also, I think it would be easier to adapt into a game because it's already got this self-contained location, which is perfect for a game. You don't want there to be too many locations you have to travel to. I think it just makes it easier. And who doesn't love a mansion mystery? Although I will say, the mention of a Shakespearean actor kind of puts me off. I have beef with Shakespeare. I have personal beef with him. If they got into Shakespeare nonsense, I would not be as much on board. To do a total tone shift, the next book I'd like to present to you is The Double Horror of Fenley Place. Nancy visits a movie set and finds terror on location. World-famous director Hank Steinberg is filming a horror flick in Nancy's hometown of River Heights. The movie tells a spine-tingling story about a haunted house. Most shocking of all, though, I don't know what's shocking about that in the first place. But, most shocking of all, though, is what's going on across the street at an old Victorian mansion called Fenley Place. Whatever happens on the movie set is mysteriously duplicated in the mansion. Red smoke billows from the chimney, a ghostly figure appears in the window, and blood oozes from the walls. The special effects are a real scream, but Nancy must find out who is behind them before the movie and the mansion reach the final, horrifying climax. Have I ever mentioned how much I love the synopses for these books? They're just so good. I'm cheating a little because I did read this one recently, but I really enjoyed it. So I'm kind of not going out the synopses, but I've also, I've forgotten most of it at this point. I only read it like a few months ago, but I remember really liking it. Just listening to that premise, it's so intriguing and spooky, and it's like the perfect vehicle for like delicious, campy horror. I think the real crime here is that this book hasn't been adapted into a visual medium yet, because it just screams to be seen. It's just so visually captivating, like the red smoke coming out of the chimney, the blood oozing out of the walls. Like, I want to see that with my eyes in front of my face. I think it would be really cool and quite spooky, but I think they could pull it off in a way that is more fun and, like I say, campy than unsettling. Like, blood oozing out of the walls could be quite horrifying, but if done in a certain way, it could also be like, hoo-hoo, what a lark! This game is so scary and spooky. Ooh, now there's blood oozing out of the walls. What hijinks have we here? Okay, forgive me, but the next book I want to suggest is another book about dancing. Sadly, this one does not involve puppets, which I think is a bit of a shame, but it is called The Clue of the Tapping Heels, and I will tell you what it is about. Challenging questions confront Nancy Drew when she attempts to solve the mystery of the strange tapping sounds in the house of a retired actress. Who is the tapper? How does he gain access to Miss Carter's house despite securely locked doors and windows? Why do the tapping sounds come in Morse code? Is there a sinister motive behind the Prowler's actions? While trying to learn the answers to these and other puzzling questions, Nancy finds her investigations complicated by the dishonest administrator of a will and by a thief who steals the actress's prized Persian cats. Oh no! How Nancy communicates with the ghost-like intruder by tap dancing in code, how she outwits 3 criminals wanted by the police, and how she brings happiness to Miss Carter in a romantic reunion with the actress's former leading man will thrill the lively young detective's host of fans. I love that, the lively young detective. I might change my internet username. I might become the lively young detective. Say goodbye to Snuggly. Now you may only address me as the lively young detective. This is a very unique premise, to say the least. It's unique. But you know what? I think it's got some really good inbuilt puzzle potential. Like, there could be the decoding of Morse code, the creating of Morse code, the inputting of Morse code through the medium of tap dance, which is just so wonderful. I mean, a retired actress who collects Persian cats just sounds like the most iconic character since Big Island Mike, if you ask me. And just imagine a whole mob of Yuris, just like a room full of Yuris. Doesn't that just delight the senses to imagine that? The next book that I think could make for an interesting game is The Secret of Shady Glen, a cemetery of dark secrets, and Nancy's in the middle of it. Shady Glen was no different from any other cemetery, maybe a little spooky, but harmless nonetheless. At least that's what Nancy thought, until she stumbled onto a treasure map and stumbled into a world of trouble. The map leads Nancy into a network of underground passageways, where she uncovers a series of clues to a recent outbreak of robberies and the location of a long-lost fortune in gold. She follows the hidden tunnels into the cold, dark heart of the cemetery and comes face to face with the chilling secret of Shady Glen. Oh my god! I'm not gonna lie, I've read this one too, even more recently, and I can tell you that the synopsis is better than the book itself, and I think her interactive could really improve upon the book and make it better, because the book is a bit of a stinker, not gonna lie. The enemies or the culprits in this one that Nancy's like trying to foil are like 3 local high school bullies. It's just not great. But like, doesn't that just sound great? Like, I love me a little treasure hunt. Give me a treasure map. Like, imagine like kind of it being like paced so you solve little like puzzles that are on the map. Like, the map is a series of little puzzles that you have to decode to move further into, you know, these hidden passageways and further towards the treasure, and you have to decode them, and each time you get kind of more information about the mystery and more intrigue to go off on. I think it could be so fun, like secret underground passageways, a spooky cemetery, like that just sounds like a really fun time, I think. Like, you know, that sounds like a great night out to me. Next up on my little list is The Secret of Mirror Bay. Aunt Eloise Drew invited Nancy and her friends to Mirror Bay by-the-Wee cabin near Cooperstown, New York, for a visit and a chance to solve the mystery of the woman who glides across the water. I love how that feels like an afterthought. It's like, yeah, she invited them over for a visit. Oh no, yeah, there's this lady who glides across the water that she thinks Nancy might possibly be interested in. Upon their arrival, Nancy becomes mixed up in a vacation hoax and is nearly arrested for fraud. On the wooded mountain near the cabin, further exciting events await Nancy and the other girls. In the deep forest, a weird luminescent green sorcerer appears who threatens to cast an evil spell on anyone investigating his strange activities. I can't believe this book was written. In a dangerous twist of circumstances, Nancy finds that solving one mystery helps to solve another. So solving the mystery of the woman who glides across the water helps solve the mystery of the weird luminescent green sorcerer who threatens to cast an evil spell on anyone investigating his strange activities. What happens when the young detective and her friends uncover a cleverly concealed criminal operation? I'm not gonna lie, I had to have at least one completely unhinged pick on here. I mean, you probably thought some of the others were unhinged, like Dancing Puppet, you know, Morse code, tap dancing, stolen Persian cats, but no, this is the weird one. They had me at weird luminescent green sorcerer, I'm not gonna lie. I just think it could be like a modern answer to Haunting of Castle Malloy. Like, that's often cited as the most unhinged Nancy book, and I think this could give it some stiff competition, some stiff, much-needed competition. Midnight in Salem was not nearly unhinged enough. There were no weird luminescent green sorcerers in Midnight in Salem. Why not, I ask? Why not? Those are actually all of the ones that I think could make good Nancy Drew games. Some I think would make better than games than others, but as a bonus, I also have some quick honorable mentions of some books which I think would make awful games, just truly bad games. And the first one of those is The Case of the Twin Teddy Bears. On the trail of a teddy bear thief, Nancy unwraps double dealing and double crosses. Bess is working during the Christmas rush at Berry Wonderful, a toy and teddy bear shop, when the holiday season takes a sudden, scary turn. The owner's prized collection of antique teddy bears, cute, cuddly, and worth a bundle, just like me, has been ripped off, but the break-in is only the beginning of a much bigger and more brazen teddy bear caper. The attempted theft of Bess's own bear, a replica of one of the antiques, leads Nancy to believe that more is at stake than a couple of burgled bears. For Nancy knows that even something as innocent as a teddy bear can be stuffed with intrigue. Okay, like, I know in the book, they probably will end up revealing that, yes, the stakes are higher than a few stolen teddy bears, but come on. The stakes have literally never been lower. Stolen teddy bears? Really? Why would I be invested in that? I mean, the phrase brazen teddy bear caper is trying so hard to hype me up, but it's just not working. It's just not working. Nothing can get me excited about a brazen teddy bear caper. Like, I feel like they were running out of ideas with this one. More like Nancy Drew and the horror of working in retail during the Christmas season. Am I right? And the second stinker that I want to mention is Without a Trace, which is the first book in the Nancy Drew Girl Detective series. So far, I kind of have kept my list to just books in the main Nancy Drew series, but this one is just so bad that I had to include it. It just stood out to me for being memorably bad. And it'll start off and it'll sound okay, and then it just Hi, I'm Nancy Drew, and I've got a case to crack. Actually, make that 2 cases. First, a gorgeous Fabergé egg has been stolen. Who would have the heart to snatch such a precious family heirloom from someone new to town? Some housewarming that is. And if this isn't enough to keep me busy, someone's running through gardens and stomping on all the zucchinis. Needless to say, it's a big mess in more ways than one, especially for Mr. Safer, who is suspected of squishing the squash. I'm pretty sure Mr. Safer is innocent, but who's the real vegetable vandal? Vegetable vandal? I take it back. The stakes have never been lower than this. Nancy Drew investigating who's stomping on vegetables? Like, why is that relevant to her? Why is that an important case for her? Like, she's going off on private trains with Laurie Gerard. She's flying to Japan on P.G. Krollmeister's wallet to solve like a ghost mystery. And then she comes home to find out who's stomping on vegetables. Like, this is a girl who's been employed by like the Italian secret police. Surely a vegetable crime is beneath her. In both literally and figuratively. Beneath her because vegetables are planted in the earth under her feet. Yeah, you get it? I can't believe this is the first book in the Nancy Drew Girl Detective series. Like, way to start out strong. Way to bring those readers in with the intriguing case of the vegetable vandal. Ooh, I'm so interested. Also, Fabergé egg, don't talk to me until one of your Persian cats gets stolen, okay? Well, that is my list. Which books would you most like to see be made into Nancy Drew games? And which one from my list do you think is the most promising and is the one you'd most be interested in becoming a game? I think that made sense as a sentence.